White snow with soft edges where the dark green from the trees and the gray from rocks poked out covered everything. The kind of beauty that attracts people to wander into these forest mountains. The old priestess of Yokiyama's mountain temple, Otsu, walked along the old forest dirt path, tossing grain and salt along the way to keep the old mountain trail from freezing over the ice and prevent those who travel up the path from sliding and falling. Her brown eyes looked to the sky, cloudless and white. As the ground, she hummed, feeling the dull ache in her bones that told her another heavy snowfall is coming to Kanazahana. I forgot how to say this. Kanazahana village. Come on, Yin. It'll be fun. She heard a young girl's voice and averted her eyes to 4 young girls making their way up the hill. God heavens, just what in the world are they doing all the way out here? Where are their parents? Otsu wondered. It was dangerous to be away from the village due to demons prowling around. Night before befall anytime soon? No, I don't want to do this. One girl suddenly exclaimed loudly as the other 3 dragged her along via pulling and shoving for her to come with. Aw, don't be such a baby. We're trying to help you, another girl told her. Oh, it seems there's trouble afoot, as the elderly woman watched as one girl pushed the helpless girl, and she went tumbling down the snowy mound, screaming. There, now you're right where you belong, Snow Witch. Oh dear, the poor thing. Seems like it's just another one of those days when those that think they're high and mighty saw fit to prey upon the weak. Well, she wasn't just going to stand aside and watch the poor thing suffer, as Otsu calmly took gentle strides over to where the 3 young girls stood. Snow Witch fell in a ditch. She let a cry, and her throat became dry. Within frozen tears and no one to love her, she'll be cold and alone forever and ever, they chanted in song. No, I'm not a Snow Witch, you yelled, but was met with a snowball to the face. Yes, you are. You don't belong here. No one loves you, one girl said as they all started throwing snowballs at you. You whimpered and tried to shield yourself with your little arms. It got a lot colder, almost to pin-pointing freezing as ice began forming around your feet. Rapidly, the ice started to form into a wall as it slowly wrapped around you, shielding you from their attacks and insult. The 3 girls gasped and backed up quickly as you encountered yourself in an ice cocoon. See, you are a Snow Witch. You deserve to be here. So do all a favor and get lost, witch, one girl says. Nobody loves you. Why don't you just disappear? And with that, they let you be, leaving you in the ditch. Within the ice, you crouched and buried your face in your hands, crying. They were right. No one will ever love you. You will always be alone. What's going on here? You, including the 3 girls, suddenly heard a light, rich female voice. The 3 girls quickly glanced to see a short, elderly woman dressed in a pale pink kimono and holding a walking cane. She looked meek and timid, but you could definitely tell she was far from anything but as she glanced at the scene before her. Her fierce but wise brown eyes looked at you before glancing at the 3 girls. Her expression turned into a deep, disappointed frown. What are you 3 girls doing out this late? Why are you tormenting this young girl? She asked them sternly, taking a step forward towards them. The 3 trembled in fear as the old woman slowly approached as they shakenly backed away. Who are you? One girl asked nervously, quickly ignoring the elder woman's question. Otsu stopped, seeing their unease as a wicked idea crossed her mind. It's obvious what the 3 had been doing, so she figured out Why not teach the troublemakers a little lesson? Slowly, 3 watched as her frown turned into a merciless grin and eyes narrowing glanced down at them wickedly. I am Baba Yaga. The old woman whacked the old wicked hag of the mountain. She crackled sadistically. Her words only terrified the 3 young girls even more as they hugged each other out of fear. I feed on livestock and small children, and I enjoy tormenting anyone who wanders into my territory. And you 3 are trespassing, she says evilly before lifting her walking cane. I'm going to have so much fun turning you naughty little girls into lunch meat. She pulls out her cane, revealing it to maintain a hidden blade. Ah! The 3 girls shrieked before turning and quickly took off running, with one of them crying for their mommy. Oops, perhaps she overdid it and scared them a bit too much. Oh well, at least now they'll learn to stay in the village and not wander from the safe zone, and potentially become a demon's next meal. Otsu chuckled, watching them run back towards the village. That'll teach 'em, is all she thinks before turning to face the little girl lying in the trench. She frowned, seeing the poor dear quickly wipe away her tears with the sleeve of her yukata. Oh, you poor thing. Are you all right? She carefully kneeled down to check and see if you were hurt. No, I'm fine. You say, but it's clear you weren't fine. Not in the slightest. Your parents had left you, kicked you out into the cold with nothing but the clothes on your back, and had left you with little money to feed yourself. You're alone and abandoned. The sad look on your pretty face told Otsu everything she needed to know as she reached into the pocket of her haori and pulled out a handkerchief before wiping your face with it. There, it's all right. You're safe now, she says gently, though her eyes whined at her words. However, you'd felt like you weren't worthy of her kindness. Please, I'm not worthy of your sympathy. I'm a snow witch. The elderly woman frowned as she took your hand gently in yours. Snow witch? What do you mean by that? She asked softly. You shyly looked off to the side. Well, you see, I was born with a curse that allows me to freeze everything I come in contact with. Because of this, the other kids call me Snow Witch, and the villagers hate me, you exclaimed, as Otsu began to squeeze your little hand. I see. The elder woman nods in understanding before averting her eyes towards her hand, which was holding yours. A warm smile crazes her lips as her thumb gently rubs small, comforting circles against your skin. Well, I don't think you're a witch. In fact, how about we become friends? She asks, smiling at you softly. You couldn't help but stare at her in disbelief. Really? You really want to be my friend? But I'm cursed. I'll freeze you. But you're holding my hand and I'm not freezing. See? She gestures towards your hand, still intertwined. You're both surprised and confused. You hadn't even noticed now how your hand was gripping hers tightly. Why wasn't she turning into ice? She felt so warm to the touch. What stereotype is this? The way I see it, you possess strength of character, but don't know quite how to use it. For instance, when those girls are bullying you, you felt threatened, and needed to isolate yourself, become potent, she exclaims. But since I'm not threatening you or harming you, you're calm and relaxed. It's true. You don't feel threatened, despite her being a total stranger. Yet, you don't sense any hospitality coming from her. Granted, this old woman looked like she'd baked chocolate chip cookies for the poor. Her expression is kind, and her demeanor seemed evil. In sheer honesty, She's the only person who has shown you nothing but kindness, and you can't help but trust her. How's about you come back with me to the temple? I'll make you a nice warm cup of hot cocoa," she asked. You didn't know what came after, but because of her remark caused a big smile to bless your lips as you followed yourself, nodding in response. "My name's Otsu, by the way," she finally introduces herself. "Otsu? So are you really the Yama Abba?" Otsu couldn't help but laugh. "No, I only said that to scare those mean girls away." I'm Yin. Pleased to meet you." With that, the kind elderly woman helped you up as you kept a hold on her hand. You didn't want to let go, somewhat afraid she'll disappear and you'll be alone again as you clinged onto her arm. "Thank you, Oba-chan. You're my first friend," you tell her. Otsu chuckles heartedly at the nickname as it brought back so many wholesome memories of all the orphan children she's met, taught, and helped raise. "Oba-chan, I'm not that old." She was glad she found you. How could anyone be so mean to someone this precious and sweet? That moment, Otsu made a vow to herself. She would keep Yin by her side and love her as her own daughter. Many years passed since Otsu had found you, and that fateful day, and had raised you as her own. It was like her prayers had been answered. She always wanted to have a child of her own for so long, and now she was blessed with you. You were just as stubborn as she expected, but she cared for you. She raised you alongside Toki and Chizuru, two other orphan children that she took under her wing many years ago, back when she used to run an orphanage alongside her late mother. Despite not being relative by blood, you loved and saw them as your older siblings, and was enthusiastic upon hearing that Chizuru was expecting a baby, meaning you were technically going to be an aunt. It made Otsu so proud to see you smile, laugh, and happy, though the villagers of Kazuna village started doubting you as the Okayana due to the winter's curse. However, Otsu still loved you. "Don't listen to the people call you. Just because you can manipulate cold doesn't mean you're a monster," she would tell you. "It doesn't make you less worthy of any being part of this family. You are loved here, and you're special." For a brief second, she thought you were upset, but instead, you threw your arms around her neck, and Otsu gladly hugged you back, caressing her hand through your hair-colored hair as you tightened your grip. "One day, they will regret their choice of words." You grew into such a beautiful and well-educated young woman, and just as Otsu had said, the people of the village did in fact regret their words. What they dubbed as a monster is now a beautiful woman that every man wanted you to be his wife. You had many suitors, but every time each one would get to you, he'll leave you the next day. Apparently your winter's curse became too much for them to bear. How could no one expect to have a warm and caring wife when she brings the cold everywhere she goes like an illness? Otsu noticed the disheartened look upon your pretty face as well as the frustration. The way you gritted your teeth and balled your fists at your side. Your mood was soured. The last time Otsu had seen you happy was when Toki's and Chizuru's daughter, I'm going to butcher all these names by the way, Manakota, was born. Days became weeks and weeks became years as it continued like this, with still no one wanting to love you unconditionally. You longed for someone to love and share your life with, so not wanting to seem you down, Otsu proposed a trial to every young bachelor to come to the temple and prove his worth. Unfortunately, none had managed to even pass the first obstacle, some even leaving before the trial could even begin. Otsu took a sip of her herbal tea, whilst listening you rant in anger, cursing every young man that came to the temple. You didn't even give not a single one of them chance to proclaim his undying love for you. Soon, visits to the temple became scarce.
since he had been creating snowstorms and scaring those who dared sought to take the trials, even those who didn't.
The Okiana now shows her true colors.
Otsu inwardly jokes, watching the snowfall. A demon. There had been a string of disappearance happening around Okiyama, and villagers had been proclaiming that they've been hearing strange sounds at night, as well as seeing someone hanging outside their homes acting strange. Otsu knew all too well that it was a demon behind all this. She was no stranger to the expansion of demons, considering she used to be a demon slayer and former Hashira in her youth. Unfortunately, an incident involving a production of her own making took the lives of her demon-slaying brethren, which had forced her into an early retirement and left her with a heavy heart full of guilt. From Yokiyama's mountain temple, Otsu heard hearsay that the villagers had sent out a distress call praying that someone would answer, and who'd guess it would be a demon slayer, of course, that replied. She couldn't help but let a smile gaze her lips at the thought of Kayaka Udarashiki, that very young man who ran into her from home and whom she'd met many years ago, was sending someone to investigate. A savior was on the way. Upon meeting Kojiro, Otsu knew he'd be the one for you. Strong, compassionate, and full of bravado, the boy, although strange, had been completely overwhelmed by you and earned to make you his bountiful wife. Otsu laughed, seeing the two of you bicker back and forth, which she noticed how red your face was and how your colored eyes would lighten up whenever Kojiro opened expression his love to you. She could definitely see the love blossom in between you two. Usually when the fire and ice collided, the results never end well. But Otsu knew that this was just the beginning of something very beautiful. 12 months had gone by with Kojiro coming to Kanaza village frequently. However, he wasn't busy with demon slaying. He'd grown even closer to you that Otsu already knew he would pass a test with flying colors. She knew he would love you unconditionally, and she knew your love would eventually bloom into something more that words alone can't describe. Kojiro loved you, and you two were destined to be together. However, being a fortune teller, she knew that death followed Kojiro like a shadow. The life of a Hashira was never smooth sailing. They tend to start out so young, only to die whenever face to face with the very thing they're trained to seek and exterminate. Demons. Vile things created by an even bigger fiend with a heart as black as tar, the wretched king demon Kubutsuji Muzan. Thus, it's a war to save humanity from a demon masochist, and even younger warriors that chose the path of a demon slayer knew that the chances of dying is high, that it's practically a suicide mission. The only time a demon slayer or Hashira lives to see their golden age is by retirement due to health complications, reduced, handicapped, or just old age. But even still, life's a never-ending battle. Otsu could find in her heart to tell you of the warnings that you and Kojiro's love would end in tragedy. But oh, you looked so very happy with Kojiro. Your heart no longer in a block of ice, but roaring flame that the flame Hashira can ignite. Apparently, Otsu didn't have to, since Kojiro had already told himself that the hardships that would follow now, that you and him were together. Clever boy, is all she thought. The wedding had been beautiful, and Otsu knew that eventually both you and Kojiro's love would bear fruit. Oh, the day your son was born, she had been enthusiastic upon receiving the expecting news, even much so to learn that you had named him after the rising sun, which was fitting for a name for a strong, healthy, and perfect baby boy. However, a dark storm was brewing, and Otsu knew that Kojiro's life was slowly approaching an end, and knew you weren't going to handle his passing very well. Her heart, once burning with a beautiful bright light, is now heavy and frozen upon receiving the news of Kojiro's death, and Otsu knew that you were going to commit a ritual suicide via sabukudo, or other methods. Unexpected, and thankfully she had just made it in time to stop you from doing it so.
Are you really going to give up that easily? Shame on you. Despite the disappointment in her kind tone, your Oba-chan wanted you, her beloved adopted daughter, to be happy
and safe.